Hey, Cool Gray. Here is a recipe that I recorded for you back in October, and it's a chilly February morning here in Florida. Got my sweater on, my Cool Grays are a little bit scraggly, but I really wanted to get this intro recorded so that I could finish up the video and bring this recipe to you. I would love for you to make it. This is a classic Middle Eastern dish called Mujadara, or something like that. I discovered it in a Lebanese restaurant. I make it now regularly here. It's crazy delicious. It may have some flavors that you're not familiar with, but you should try this. I think that you'll be very pleased if you like earthy flavors. It features rice, lentils, and caramelized onions, a lot of cumin, and a tiny bit of cayenne pepper in there, but it's not really a hot dish at all. It's just a very comforting dish. It's been around on Middle Eastern tables for thousands of years in one variation or another, and I hope that we can bring it to your table. Come along with me and let's see what our ingredients are. This dish relies heavily on the flavor and texture that comes from caramelized onions, so you do see a lot of them there. But let's zoom in a little bit and talk about the rest of the ingredients. This is primarily a lentil and rice dish, and it's been made in various ways throughout the years. But for our recipe, we need 1 cup of green or brown lentils. We need 3/4 of a cup of rice. I'm using Uncle Ben's converted rice here. I will need 3 very large red onions. They will cook down, but it's key to this recipe. We need 1/2 cup of extra virgin olive oil. We need 1 teaspoon cumin seed and 1 teaspoon of black peppercorns cracked. 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne is optional, and 2 3-inch cinnamon sticks. Also back there is a tablespoon of ground cumin, 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt, and for our garnishes we're going to need 2 tablespoons of pine nuts, which we will toast, and then we will put lemon wedges and fresh Greek yogurt on the table for toppings. All right, let's get started. First step is going to be to prepare our lentils, and we're going to do that by sorting through them. These days you don't really find very many stones in these kinds of beans and grains, but it's always a good idea to check. Once you're satisfied that there are only beans in that colander, then we'll give them a good rinse, and that'll give us another opportunity to double check. And then we're going to just add those rinsed beans to a pot. We're going to cover the lentils with just enough water to cover them, plus maybe 1/2 inch. And I'm going to add the ground cumin right to the water, and we're going to cook those lentils right in that flavor. Just put it on the stove, bring it to a boil. Then we're going to cover and simmer for about 10 minutes. Then we're going to drain them and set them aside for later. While that's going on, I'm going to prepare my onions. And to do that, I'm just going to chop off the ends, cut the onion in half, and then I'm going to remove the center core. Then I'm going to go ahead and slice them into little thin slices. I'm going to do that triple time because how much fun is that? Now this is 3 onions and it's going to look like a lot, but trust me, this is going to cook down a lot, you'll see. And the caramelization is a big part of the flavor of this dish. So our onions are about ready. And to cook them down, I'm going to add my 1/2 cup of olive oil, and I'm going to add my cumin seeds and my cracked black peppercorns to the oil. I want to make sure the oil is hot, and then this process is called tempering the oil. So you add your seasonings to the oil in order to flavor it and bring out the flavor. The flavors kind of blossom in that oil. It's traditional in Indian and Middle Eastern cooking to do this rather than add your seasonings to your ingredients. I'm going to let those cook right in that oil for about a minute, till I see them brown a little bit, and maybe 1 or 2 of those seeds will start to pop. And then I'm going to add my onions to my skillet. Make sure they get nice and coated. I want them all to be coated in oil and also to begin to integrate with those seasonings. And we're going to work these for maybe a total of 15 minutes or so. Continue to cook them down and cook them down until we get beautiful caramelized perfection. So I'm going to stand over this for a good part of the time. I'm going to stir frequently. I can walk away for 30 seconds to a minute or so, but I want to continue to work these. This is about the halfway point. You'll see there's some browning, but I do still have a lot of softness, and I don't see really a lot of caramelization happening yet. So I'm going to keep stirring and redistributing. We're getting a little closer, and I'm going to keep on looking at this until I see a lot of browning, but I want to stop short of burning. So here I'm just about satisfied. I would like to cook them a little bit further, but I'm nervous that I'm going to start to burn. So I'm going to call it a day, and I'm going to begin to strain out about half of those. I've got a little bowl prepared with some paper towel in it so that I can drain these, and that's going to be a garnish on top of the dish later. The other half will stay in and cook with my lentils. Now, I've cooked this a little bit further and let them get even more caramelized, but if you risk burning, it does alter the flavor of the dish radically. So I'm stopping a little bit short of that. Now I'm going to add my cayenne pepper and my cinnamon sticks, stir that in. Make a little bit of room in the middle of my pan, and now my rice will go in. This is just the uncooked, rinsed Uncle Ben's converted rice. I'm going to stir that together with my onions and whatever oil is left in the pan. We just want to toast these rice grains for about 1 minute in this pan. It will help to maintain the texture and also give a little bit of a nuttiness, believe it or not, to this dish. Once that's done, I'm going to add my water. I need 2.5 cups of water with my 3/4 cup of rice. I'm going to add my kosher salt, bring that to a boil, and then I'm going to cover, reduce the heat to simmering, and I'm going to leave it covered for about 15 minutes. While that's cooking, I'm going to toast my pine nuts. I'm going to use my toaster oven. You can use whatever toasting method you like. I've sprayed my aluminum foil covered tray with a little bit of butter flavored cooking spray, added my pine nuts, and then added a little more on top. You have to watch these very carefully. In a minute, they will go from perfect to burned. And once again here, I'm stopping just a tiny bit short of where I could stop, but because I'm doing so many things at once and I'm recording, I want to make sure these don't burn. I burn these more often than I don't. So that's just about perfect. You can go a little further. It's been about 15 minutes. You can see that I still have a good deal of water in here, and that's good because I'm going to add my lentils to the dish now. They've just been waiting since I drained them and set them aside earlier. So I'm going to combine that all together. Now the dish is really starting to look like Mujadara. So I'll make sure everything is stirred together beautifully. Then I'm going to cover this and let it cook for another 15 minutes. Once that's done, this is what the finished dish will look like. If you do still see some water in the bottom of the pan, just cover it and cook it for another 5 minutes or so, or you can leave it uncovered and stir a while until whatever remaining moisture disappears. You do not want this dish to be wet. Now I'm ready to plate it. I've got a nice big, it's basically a pasta bowl. I'm going to put it in that because we're going to serve this family style. Make it look as pretty as I can in the bowl. I'm going to pick out my cinnamon sticks because we don't want anybody biting down on that. And then I'm going to just spread it out, then top it with my toasted pine nuts. Just give those a sprinkle on top. This adds such a nice texture and a wonderful additional flavor to the dish. On top of that go my reserved caramelized onions. You can see they look a little bit darker now that they've drained. They are still soft, but they do have that wonderful sweetness that comes with the caramelization process. I'm ready to put it on my table with my lemon wedges and my Greek yogurt, and we're ready to eat. Our Mujadara is ready, and tonight we're going to have it for dinner with some amazing grilled lamb chops. You are the best. These are delicious. Let's go ahead and give this a taste. We've got it dressed with the caramelized onions and some toasted pine nuts.
Yum.
I'll give you some. And then for some additional garnishes, lemon wedge, a little squeeze of lemon, and a little dollop of fresh yogurt on top.
Perfect.
Let's give it a taste.
Yeah. Fantastic.
It has a wonderful texture. It actually has a wonderful combination of textures. The toasted pine nuts, the firmness of the lentils, and the tenderness of the rice. That little pop of citrus, the tiny bit of cayenne coming through, which is balanced beautifully with this little bit of yogurt on top.
And the cinnamon stick.
Can you taste the cinnamon? It's excellent. I'm going to taste it again.
That's great.
Okay. It's packed with protein. It's packed with flavor. It's completely delicious. We hope that you try it and you enjoy it and that it adds something new and fresh to your table. Thanks so much for watching. Would you please like this video if you did? And while you're doing stuff, consider subscribing. We'd love to have you on board. And you can also check out a few more videos, lots and lots of recipes and some other things as well. We will see you next time.